Hey, and welcome back. Today I'm gonna show you how to create the sound. In order to achieve those various very nice sounds, we gonna open an instance of Faceplant and choose the wavetable generator here. It has a very beautiful wavetable I tend to use more often than others. It's here in the factory wavetables in the saw folder, and it's called dispersed saw, and it just sounds like this. Has already the juice inside. We all are familiar from the disperser effect. I gonna map the wavetable frame position to macro 1, but I don't want to start at the beginning because I just want to have the fancy dispersed saw flavors here and not the standard saw sound. And macro 2 gonna be assigned to the harmonics here and to just -1, so it goes right to the lowest sound possible. Already very nice. So what's next? We gonna use today the slice EQ and open it and just make a bump like this and copy the slice EQ and just go with the offset down like this. And now we're gonna map macro 1 onto the first slice EQ to go down. Maybe let's see, not until here, but maybe until here. And macro and slice EQ2 gonna be mapped up to this, so when they change like the position, and it gives it some kind of oi-ish format movement. It wouldn't be a sound design patch without OTT. And we gonna add some more of these slice EQs, this time just one with a dip, maybe a more narrow one, and maybe a steeper one. And this dip is also just going down when we move this macro like this. Alright, and we gonna add another slice EQ, well, not the shaper table, another slice EQ, and do another weird shape here, maybe this time something, and scroll to make it a little bit more narrow. Also by hitting Control and scroll, you make it like more cornerish, whatever. And I maybe move them a little bit closer together like this. And now we're gonna move this up here. Has also a very nice effect, and I'm gonna introduce a remap just with a triangle shape here and assign macro 1 to modulate our remap thing. So when I turn this now, it just makes this triangle movement in addition to all the other stuff. And now this triangle movement gonna be assigned to this weird shape here. So when I move now the macro knob, halfway through it will be up, and then it's going to come down again. But as you can see, it's moving up a little bit too much. All right. Gets very oi. Again, no TT. Nice. Now we are also going to add a disperser to get even more juice. Crank the amount all the way up, and then let macro 1 cycle a little bit through this frequency thing here. Perfect. Then I'm going to add my snap heap rack comps here. Comps. I've already shown this in videos before, but just in case you watch this channel now for the first time, I will introduce you to what these kind of racks are doing. So I have a comp filter here and one macro to control all of these stacked comp filters cut off simultaneously. You are going to achieve this by just adding a comp filter here and assign the frequency to macro 2, and now by hitting Control and drag clicking this, you just duplicate the effect. You see it also duplicates the mapping, and just do this a couple of times. I did it 5 times here, add a limiter, and you have this snap heap rack. Alright, what I want to have now is another remap. So when I cycle through this movement, I want to every once in a while turn on these mix of the comp snap heap rack. So I'm gonna create a shape for this specific task, which looks somehow like this. Alright, and I'm gonna make the edges here a little bit smoother. Nice. So this will be also modulated by macro 1. By the way, you just need to click on this 2-bar thing and don't need to click and move like this to have some kind of range. It just does it by clicking there. So you can see now it just does this movement while the macro does just this linear movement. And I'm going to map this to the mix of the comps to 50%. And also I'm gonna assign macro 1 to just go a little bit lower here in this cutoff of the comp filter. So now we have something like this. Nice. Sounds very Transformer-ish in my opinion. OTT. Maybe even twice. So now we are choosing here, before we tweak this macro, and then we can choose here in the, this is Ableton specific, we can choose here in the XY pen macro 1, and we're gonna tweak macro 2, which is just the pitch, and assign it to here. And now we can have like sick movements here, like alright, that's already very sick in my opinion, but I want to level it up just a little bit by adding a rolling sampler onto our phase plant track here. Nice. And then I just will record a simple movement into it like this. Alright, and this I'm now going to sample into a granular engine in here. Just turn this down, and I am going to map macro 1 now also to the grain size here, and I make sure to start at a very low grain size like this, and I just go up to about 2. So you can see here 2.3, whatever, doesn't matter exactly. So now when I'm on a low grain setting, didn't have the effect I desired, because I need to turn those here down by a lot these milliseconds and assign macro 2 to the envelope length here, which I want to go up just to about 120. And of course, turn down this to C1, because actually I was pressing the note C1, or I think actually C0, but yeah, C1 is the lowest possible one corresponding here, because the lowest value is A0. So now it will make much more sense what we hear. And last but not least, I gonna, at least for this granular thing, I gonna map macro 3 here to the sample starting point and assign macro 3 to a fader on my keyboard. Create a long note in here. Nice, very, very nice. I think we can just increase the gain here a little bit. All right, so that's almost it. I just also realized that it is very nice if you add like this one specific wavetable, which I really fell in love with, into this preset. And it's here on the vocals from this guy Glorklang, who seems to be a very nice sound designer. So we have like this wavetable, which was actually inspiring me so much in my recent tutorials to create like these crazy voices. And yeah, we just add a macro here onto this position, and then let's see. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.